They don't think you could do it, but tell you to try when they talk all I hope. Had to keep it alive, spend a day in the Bronx, but you wouldn't survive. Can be low when I pop out, they know I've arrived. I go have conversations with Zoe, he gon' tell me pull up and come say what you know. I've been up, I can count all them days in a row. We don't say what we do, we be making the show. They say I be
the voice of the Bronx. We have Bronx Land with the guys are out here. Can I get a
yeah? Leave them all right where they at. Try to diss me, I bet I don't even react. Put a show on, I bet you somebody gon' I pick me a book up and drink me some water, invest in the stock. All kids on me back.
All right, peace and love, world. Welcome to another episode of Conversation with Zoe. We are here with Wise Money Academy. Welcome, gentlemen. You know, I'm very happy to have you guys. We have my guy, Santino, the only option, Drew. Options trader, entrepreneur, educator, and mentor. I'm sure he wears many other hats that we'll discuss today. Then on the other side, we got my guy, Lawrence. He's into finance, CEO of Black Wall Street Originals, long-term investor. The Panther have never asked you for money. 23 years old. How you doing, my brothers?
I'm good. How about you?
That was a good slogan you just did. That was,
man. I got it from his Instagram.
We gotta be sure, we gotta be clear about that. Right. The Panther will not ask you for no money.
Right.
For sure.
Where does that come from?
Man, because it's like so many scam pages on Instagram where like they'll send DMs to people and they'll be like, send me, $500 in crypto.
Right.
And at the time when my page was just blowing up, people was getting scammed left and right. So I just put that in my bio just to protect people.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. We're going to start with the guy, the man, the myth, the legend. So Wise Money Academy. Wealth is supreme education.
Yes.
Right? What does that mean to you?
Well, let's talk about wealth first of all. Wealth is a mentality to me.
Yes, sir.
It's not a thing. It's not a monetary value or something physical. Mm-hmm. I don't think you could wear wealth.
Right.
I think, I am wealthy.
Yes.
And when I say that, again, it's from a mindset standpoint, a spiritual standpoint.
Right.
Spiritual in the sense of always trying to help others. Mm-hmm. And understanding that, the fastest way for me to get to $1 billion is to make 100 people around me millionaires.
Right.
And the supreme education part, that's pretty much what I coined my process for learning the financial markets and actually learning a skill that could allow me to take money out of the market pretty much anytime I want to.
Right.
It's supreme education. It puts you in a position where you'll never be broke. It puts you in a position where you'll never want for anything financially. And it also puts you in a position where you're free.
Right.
Free from the obligation of sweat equity, free from the obligation of pretty much working just to sustain a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. When you got that supreme financial education, you understand money in all its components.
Right.
And that's pretty much what it is, man.
Right.
Wise.
So I want to break down the 4 components that I saw on your website. Stock investment blueprint.
Mm-hmm. So the stock investment blueprint, that was actually the first thing I ever taught.
Right.
I was teaching it live. I had started it on like meetups with people, jumping on meetup.com. Right. And this was all before COVID. This was 2018 when I started this. I had, just returned home from doing a federal prison sentence. And I started the stock market blueprint. Mm-hmm. Because, for me, it was all you needed to pretty much get into the world of learning how to invest in stocks from a long-term standpoint, not from trading standpoint.
Right.
Meaning you buy the stocks, you hold them, you own the asset, just like a piece of real estate or a piece of property, right?
Right.
It's an asset, and so is a stock. So
yes.
That's what the blueprint was all about, finding a simple way. Being that, I'm a 9th grade dropout, and the person that taught me, he had such a eloquent way of articulating complex things in a simple manner. Mm-hmm. And I needed that, not that I'm unintelligent or anything like that, but,
right.
I need things put to me simply, in right. layman's terms. And that's what the blueprint was all built on, finding a good way to deliver it to people who may not know absolutely anything about markets,
right.
So that's what it was all about, the stock market investment blueprint.
Right. Technical analysis.
So that's as a trader, and even some long-term investors like my brother sitting here might argue that that's something you need on both spectrums. So you got long-term investing, then you got trading. Trading is what I do primarily, meaning I'm not holding on to assets long. I may be in an asset for 5 minutes. I may jump in a Tesla trade, and I may be in there 5 minutes. I may be in there 5 hours, 5 days. That's trading.
Right.
You know, the difference in that and long-term investing is, you know, you pick a stock, you know, it's a company that you like, a name that you heard, household name, you hold your money in there and let it appreciate over time.
Right.
Is it going to go down? Yes, but it's designed to go up. So pretty much technical analysis is the way that you navigate your way through any market condition, any type of asset that you can invest in, whether futures, forex, options, stocks, bonds, crypto. They all function based on a chart.
Right.
So technical analysis allows you to be able to look at the chart and actually gauge where price may or may not go next.
Right.
So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Options mastery.
Okay. I think I know options better than anybody in the world, and I'm willing to get them in a room with me. They don't want to be on the other side of my trade. Right. So options mastery came because I took a deep dive, having 5 years and 9 months to serve in federal prison. I took a deeper dive into different components of the option, complex components. So it's one component called the Greeks. And the Greeks, just to keep it simple, let's talk about what an option is first, real quick, because I don't want to take too much, because I need Panther to go in.
Right.
So in a nutshell, an option is a cheaper way for you to control 100 shares of a stock.
Right.
So with a stock, if I want to buy Tesla's trading at about $270 right now, right? If I want to buy 100 shares, that's going to cost me $27,000. Most people can't afford it. So they created a leverage asset, leverage meaning using less capital to make more using other people's money, called an option. So an option is pretty much a cheaper way to control 100 shares of Tesla, but without owning it outright. So obviously, if you're controlling it for a set period of time, it has an expiration. So it wouldn't be fair to you, though, if you own 100 shares of Tesla and I purchased the option where I'm really just renting Tesla, hoping that the stock price go in my favor. If it goes in my favor, I make money. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what it is. An option is a way for you to partake in the movement of the stock without having to own it and without having to pay the full price for 100 shares of whatever said stock we're talking about.
Right.
So with the options mastery, again, you know, I took a deeper dive into the Greeks, which is that component that gives you the value of your option. It determines the value. Whether you lose or whether you win will be based on the Greeks.
Right.
So that's pretty much it.
So we're kind of in the future right now because this drops next week. But for the congregation, we're doing something for somebody right now.
Yeah.
Because this is special.
Definitely.
This is very special. And I'm honored to be here.
Definitely.
You know, Pro Trader course.
So the Pro Trader course was all of them wrapped up into one.
Right.
At first, it was a course that I taught live. When I mean live, you know, COVID had just hit, and just so happened I had purchased a Zoom account because I started getting people on Instagram at the time that was like in Canada, you know, different places hitting me like, yo, I'm trying to learn this craft. What's up? So I'm like, all right, well, I'm in here. I'm in New Jersey. What you gonna do? You know, so it's like Zoom. I got onto the Zoom. Mind you, I just came home. So I had to really learn all of these things. I had to learn Instagram. I had to learn Zoom, what Zoom actually was.
Mute yourself. Right?
Yeah, you know?
Yeah.
Share your screen and all of that stuff. So I had to learn that stuff. And just so happened, I picked up the Zoom account, COVID hit. So I decided that I was putting too much time, you know, dispensing too much time teaching them live. It was like I would teach you for a month straight on PowerPoint slides. It's me every day, close and personal with the students. So I said, I need to get back some time. So I pre-recorded all of those lessons. Everything that was in my head, I pretty much downloaded onto a video, you know, and or uploaded onto a video and put it in a package and call it the Pro Trader course.
Like that. Being adopted is not a curse. Because we're going to get you going, my brother. I saw that on your Instagram. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, bro. I think for me, like, you know, being adopted, I think a lot of times, you know, people think that like it's you know, it's a curse or they can't be something in life. I think a lot of times people give a lot of excuses to, where they may have started in life, right? Like even Santino even mentioned he spent 5 years and 9 months in a federal prison, but comes out and now he's a stock market trader.
Right.
Like you like if you listen and you think about that, like it doesn't matter really where you start. It just matters how bad you really want it. So I think people a lot of times use the situation they start in as an excuse to why they got to where they're at.
Right. How old were you when you got adopted?
So I was like, I don't know if you ever seen like on them TV shows where they had like them planned adoptions.
Right.
So I was a day old, like fresh newborn.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And how was your family dynamic growing up?
It was smooth until I was pretty much like 8. My adopted parents ended up splitting when I was 8 because my adopted father ended up wanting his own biological kids. So my mother couldn't give him that, unfortunately. So he ended up, pretty much parting ways. They ended up separating and he went on. So yeah.
Is he still in your life today?
He tries to be, but I would say not really.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. How do you feel about his decision?
I feel like it was selfish. You could kind of just be straight up.
Right.
If you realize you wanted biological kids and my mother couldn't give you that, you could just be like, hey, I'm gonna just bow out. You know what I'm saying? That's more respectable. You know what I'm saying?
You feel like if he had more money, he could have created that dynamic where everybody kind of flows into it?
Yeah, I would say yeah.
I think if his paper was straight, listen, man.
Yeah.
I love everybody, kumbaya, but listen,
yeah,
this is what I want, and we can make it work.
Yeah.
But I feel like your money got to be able to
exactly
make that put together. In my opinion.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So I see that you're married. How's the married life going?
Man, it's a beautiful thing. I think even to the question you asked me before, just doing it the right way. I think you learn from people's mistakes, right? So I think I've learned from my father's mistakes that he made in the marriage with my mother's to kind of know like what to do and what not to do.
Right.
So yeah. So super smooth. 4 months in now, so no complaints from me, man.
Right. And you're a father.
Shout out to sis. Shout out to sis.
Yeah, my father as well.
Right. How's fatherhood? Happy Father's Day, by the way.
Man, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yo, fatherhood. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's the whole reason why I got into, honestly, what I'm into with the stock market, with investing, because like you want to just create a life for your kids where they're never worrying about anything.
Right.
So I realized at a young age, like you need some sort of skill set, something tangible to be able to provide for your family, to the point that you mentioned about like making sure, especially in today's society where the whole working the 40 years, 50 years, and you just gonna retire and run off into the sunset, that's not really realistic anymore.
Right.
Yep.
Do you feel like because of your family dynamic, you felt like you wanted to create a family of your own?
Yeah, I definitely believe that. You're hitting on a good point there. Because, so two things, right? Because I didn't have a biological family to go to, one, and then number two, the dynamic of how I grew up. That's why I think it's most important to me.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for you, bro, for real.
I appreciate that, for sure.
Sure. Moving that work was way too much work. I got sick of being a drug dealing slave.
So you ain't pull this without, did you?
Come on, man. I had to, man. It's right there.
So
Said,
now-
so come on,
Now I
man.
just open my laptop,
Come on,
see
man.
stock, and I tap cop, you know? Now my money hustle for me.
Right.
Yeah, man. Nah, that's I felt that opening line, man.
Me too.
Cause I like when I came up with it, I was just thinking about like, yo, how I don't have to do those things no more.
Right.
You know, not just from a standpoint of developing a skill set, but people have to understand that in order for me to have even developed this skill set in the environment that I was in, I still had to have a particular set of a particular mindset.
Right.
You know? So somebody made mention the other day, they were like, yo, well, you know, most people don't have 5 years and 9 months to sit down and get this education. You know, so what about the people that don't have 5 years and 9 months? I said, well, what I say to that is you know, I was incarcerated with some people that had more than 5 years and 9 months. And guess what? They even seemingly were intrigued about what me and my guys were doing.
Right.
But their mindset didn't deliver them to it.
Right.
Their mindset didn't bring them to it. So they had the same amount of time, if not more time than me, but it's about what you choose to do with your time.
Amen.
So, you know, if anybody heard my story, I say when I first, you know, got into federal prison, I wasn't familiar with it, but it was an older guy that was in a holding tank. So pretty much a holding tank is when they first bring you to the facility and you're waiting to get fingerprinted and get your clothes and get your unit, whatever you're going to. They put you in a holding tank in reception, and he was in there. He was back on a violation for probation. And he told me, he said, hey, young buck, that's what he said. You been in federal prison before? I said, nah. He said, I could tell. I said, why? He said, because you look around everywhere.
Right.
I said, yeah, this looks like, it looks crazy. It didn't look like when I've been in the state. Like the state is more, you know, dirty, grimy, and you know you locked up. Over there, it's like, is this door open? Can I walk out? You know, type thing. And he just said to me, man, he said, I'm gonna tell you about this place. He said it's either gonna be your playground or it's gonna be your university. His exact words was a playground for a fool or a university for a wise man. And that's actually where the Wise Money Academy thing came from. So I never forgot that he said that.
Right.
So when they let me out that day, I walk on the compound and I'm going to my unit, and I'm like, man, this place look like a college campus, man.
Right.
So it kind of set in what he said. And the next day when I see people moving, they give you 15 minutes to go wherever you got to go, work, school, library, kitchen, wherever you going, you got 15 minutes. It actually looks like, you know, in between classes on a college campus.
Right.
And you know, you can play it like that and look at it like that. So that's what I convinced myself that it was for me.
Right.
This is not prison. This is a university. My time is going to be short here. In my mind, I knew I was, you know, going to do the unthinkable and beat them and get home.
Right.
So now I got to get what I could get out of these people, you know, whatever they giving up.
So I know it's summertime, and a lot of people have this one mindset. So I want you to speak on it. Risking my life for a chain, that shit is a fool's game.
Yeah. I just realized, man, being incarcerated made me reflect on how much I didn't love myself and how much I truly didn't express love for my family or my daughter, because love is an action word. Yeah. And sometimes we think our deeds suffice for the love. Right. You know, we make excuses that, you know, we was out here getting money for them. But that couldn't be further from the truth, because you're the most important aspect or component that you can add to anybody is your presence, right? Your presence. You know, if that's the case, you know, people will have meetings on telephones. They won't need to see each other. People meet in person because your presence. Lawrence always says this. Lawrence, after COVID was over, Lawrence was like, listen, we outside, man. Right. I'm not doing this Zoom. Lawrence can't stay. Come out and see me. I'm in New York. I'm over here because, you know, the brother, he globetrots,
right?
You know? And that's pretty much just what that means, man. It's like, you know, if you got to think of what you're putting your life at risk for out there. And I didn't realize it because we be asleep, man. We be in a trance. Right. And it takes a crisis it takes some pain. They say, you know, your creator will show you who you are through pain. Right. Because when you experience that pain, but yet you're not dead, you start to take a look at yourself and ask yourself, where's this pain coming? Why am I going through this? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And it kind of shows you who you are. So it was one day I was in solitary confinement. I had been in there for 12 days. And I just started thinking about where all the money go, what we do, like how we treat each other. The fact that, you know, we'll take from the hood, from our mothers, our sisters, you know, because most of us that come from that life had parents or family members that was probably either doing the same thing or abusing the drugs. Right. Or we got friends. I done served my friends' mothers. You know, thank God my mother wasn't getting high, but, you know, like, I done did these things. And it's like, we do it unconsciously. It's normal. It normalized. Like, we become these, you know, insensitive to stuff like that. Right. Then when I'm sitting in this cell and I'm in solitary confinement, which is a stressful situation, right? I started to really take notice to who I was out there. I was a person that suffered from low self-esteem, obviously, right? Because what are we doing anyway? We all meet up on these corners, we all meet up in these places, and we stay in our own little bubble, and we try our best to shit on each other all day. I'm trying my best to have a better car than Zoe, bigger chain than Lawrence. You see what I'm saying? And the only reason why we're like that is because, first of all, we've been deprived all our life. And we're thinking that that's the trophy. That's the ultimate trophy. Get the Benz, get the car. But we'll never drive it downtown where it's flooded with Benzes, flooded with people with money. We can't shine there.
Deja vu. I just had a deja vu.
Yeah.
When you said that.
We can't shine there. We got to do it amongst our people. Why? Right. So if you constantly got to put yourself out there for people to see you, that means you have a problem with what you see in you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that my main issue was low self-esteem, because just think about it, Zoe. If you really love yourself and you're really conscious of the love you have for yourself, would you really put yourself in a situation to go to jail for life? Right. That's what they offered me the first time. And I already was facing 20 in New Jersey.
Right.
So you talk about life plus 20. Do you put yourself in a situation where you get shot? Do you put yourself in a situation where you're shooting others? No, that's not what a person that loves themselves. Person that loved themselves stayed on that sidewalk.
Sidewalks. I'm the prince of the sidewalks.
That's right. That's right.
Prince of the sidewalks. That's how I made it, man. And that's why I do the work that I do, to show kids that it is cool to love school. It is cool to love education, to read books. All the things people tell you, I'm telling you, those people are not going nowhere. You know, and I see it. They still in the same spot, maybe retro Jordans now, and they in the same spot though.
Same spot.
You know what I'm saying?
New clothes.
New clothes, that's it.
New clothes, new rims on the car, same neighborhood.
Same neighborhood.
Just shitting on your own neighborhood.
How many times you gonna wrap that car, bro? It's the same car.
How many times you gonna realize that Mercedes don't own no dealerships in your hood. They don't sponsor nothing in your hood. No free lunch programs, no basketball games. Right. But you buy a Mercedes. Gucci, the same thing. They won't put a Gucci store in the Bronx. No. They won't put a Gucci store in New Brunswick, New Jersey, or where L from in certain parts of Atlanta. Right. But yet we take our money from that, take it out the hood, and go give it to those people.
Yeah.
And those people don't give us nothing in return.
Right.
So I started to think about things like that, man, and realize even from that aspect, again, low self-esteem.
Right.
Right? Broke people always willing to give money to people with money, but they will never give money to a person that's broke.
Right.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Right. Lawrence, do you feel as you've started to elevate yourself, do you feel like you found yourself more isolation?
Yeah, especially with this generation. You're asking a great question. Like, it's hard to relate to people really a lot of times my age. Even when I was even in college, after a while, you kind of start to even outgrow those people that you're around. That's why a lot of the people that I deal with are really like at least half my age or double my age for the most part. And it's just because you kind of come to that point of isolation where, for me being 23, everyone is still kind of focused on like some people are more so focused on playing around. Some people are kind of still stuck in that, well, I'm going to just finish up getting this degree and go get a job, which is cool. No knock to them. But you're not really surrounded a lot of times by a lot of hardcore entrepreneurs like younger my age. There's a few, and I've connected with them, but there's not really a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, I feel that. So I want to bring up a picture. I want to bring up a photo, right? And I want to see what's the difference between these two people right here.
The man in the suit is Vindicated. The guy with his shirt off, just waiting on his turn.
Right.
My mindset there was already made up.
Right.
I think I had gave the time back already at that point, or I might have been right about to find out that I gave back that 22-year sentence.
Right.
And I'll be coming home in 2018 instead of 2036. So I think I had found that out already. And like I said, that guy there is Vindicated because he against all odds, against all pessimism, and against all popular and contrary belief, I did something that most people weren't able to do. I took down the federal government and came home to my family. And I didn't do it by blaming anybody. I didn't do it by focusing on the system and the trap. I did it by understanding that I put myself here, and I never had to see this U.S. prosecutor. I put myself on his radar. So it's up to me to get myself off of that radar. Accountability has been the strongest component to me in my process. Owning my own shit, man. Because once I do that, once I put it 100% on me, now who is it on to fix it? Me. You recognize yourself as the problem, and then you start to see that same problem has a solution that comes from that same source, which is yourself. Yeah.
My brother.
Definitely.
For sure. That's
definitely.
That's
Even sitting here now, just sitting here with the young king right here, you know, like he said, most of the people he rolling with half his age. I have a daughter his age, so I know that most people are not on what he's on.
Very true.
This is a special situation over here. Even a couple friends that he said he got that he linked with, guys like Chris. How many guys like Chris up in the Bronx? So it's like, it's real.
We creating a little dream team right now.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's right. That's right.
You put us together, woo.
Yeah.
That's gonna be special,
Definitely.
And
that's what needs to be seen, really, like more than a lot of times, like the rappers and the entertainers, because that's all kids right now really think that's the route to go. Like, even if you're not an artist, or you got to be a YouTuber, or you like a lot of times kids are not, or an athlete, kids are not seeing people who are investors, right? People are not. We just had a conversation before we came on, like how many black kids are learning about the business of construction and how contracts work with cities and all the money. Like, imagine if those things were thought of, right? The amount of black developers there is, the amount of black investors and traders there are. Like, if we can produce more of those, that's what really changes the culture. Like, we don't need anybody really. We don't need, I'm not saying we don't need more ball players, but like, don't we have kind of really enough?
Right.
Like, we sending, like, literally, if you look at it, parents, there's millions of black kids that dedicate their life to trying to go pro. But yet there's literally only a few hundred slots that are available.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, the math don't really math with that.
Right.
And it's the same thing for the rap game.
Correct.
Right.
There's even slimmer chance. You got a better chance of making it to the NBA or NFL than becoming a big time rapper.
Yeah, because at least with the NFL, NBA is based on your skill. You got the skill, you're gonna get in there. You can have a skill like moi, and just it don't happen for you.
It don't happen for you.
You know, for whatever reason,
Yep.
Right. Do you feel prison helped you rehabilitate?
No. Prison didn't help me rehabilitate. The way I view prison helped me rehabilitate, because there's plenty of people in prison that's going to come home and go right back right now while we're speaking. Somebody got out today earlier with their little sack and their book bag and their khakis on. People picked them up. The wrong people picked them up, man. They on their way back out there.
Right.
They homeboys picked them up.
Right.
Prison didn't change me. Facing my crisis did. You got to understand, right? The most time I ever did before was like 2-3 years. For me to be somewhere in a strange part of the United States, in Pittsburgh, not my home, and these people telling me life in prison, and I know I got one child at home that I love like crazy. Obviously, I wasn't out there showing it, right?
Right.
But that's a crisis, bro.
Right.
Because I'm surrounded by people that ain't never coming home. I'm surrounded by people that don't get no less than 10 years, 15 years for drugs. These are the numbers, And, my neighbor, he just hit me on Facebook, man. Shout out to my man, Glenn, if you got a cell phone and you watching. I hope you don't, but no, Glenn, you can have a cell phone. But my man, Glenn, got life plus 60 years, man. Good guy.
Right.
Smile every day, So, nah, it wasn't prison. It was my view of prison, my view of the situation. I could do time with my standing up,
Right.
you know, standing on my hands.
Right.
It ain't the time, it's the things, it's the other people that's affected by it.
Right.
You know, your mother getting older every time she comes see you.
Right.
You know, you got to break the news to your daughter that, yeah, you didn't get the life, but they still gave you 22.
Right.
You know how long it took me to tell her that? It took me a while. I had to pace that.
Right.
I had to pace when I first got arrested because she was used to seeing me every weekend when I, you know, or every week, get off the bus every day. And now your dad been gone for a whole month.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know,
Different.
it's hard for me to explain it to her. So I cried one time in jail. I didn't cry when I got the time. I didn't cry when I lost trial. I cried when I had to tell my daughter that I was arrested.
Right.
I cried like I couldn't even get the words out.
Right.
My mother made me, she said, no, you got to tell her now. This girl been asking for you. At the time, my daughter's only 10, 11.
Wow.
I came home, she was 17. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So she's like, yo, where's my dad? Yo, this is weird.
Right.
And I got to tell her,
Yeah.
man, listen, it ain't looking good. I
Right.
couldn't even say it. I bust up in tears, bro.
Right.
And to this day, even thinking about having it, like just replaying it in my mind,
That's
it's like, yo, what did you do, yo? Why did you run yourself off the side of this cliff like this,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So it wasn't really prison, it was the crisis, because there's plenty people in prison that just don't even know the situation that they're in, bro. They don't even see the severity. They don't care. Low self-esteem, low value,
Right.
low self-worth, bro,
Right.
you know?
How did it feel to get snitched on?
It didn't feel good at first. It felt terrible, you know? It felt terrible, you know? You know, guys, you obviously, you know, sometimes you know these guys from the sandbox and, you know, you go through what you go through and you doing what you could do to fight on your end and only to find out the dudes is rolling over. But then now I look at it as it's all a part of the game. And some people may look at this interview and say, oh, what do you mean by that? Well, if you questioning what I'm saying, that means you still knee deep in the streets and you got some mental cleansing to do. Now, me, for one, I only do what I can look at myself in the mirror after doing. What you do is on you because you got to get up and brush your teeth and see that guy in the morning.
Fact.
Me, I'm a stand-up dude. I don't know no other way. So that's the main reason why I didn't go back to Pittsburgh, where I know I could have got a real big bag real fast.
Right.
You know, it was $250,000 weekends up there.
Right.
You know, but what am I selling? I'm selling death. I'm selling heroin, bro.
Right.
How many people I gotta watch this shit destroy before I realize, like, yo, what are you doing, right? So that's just the main thing, man, that going through that crisis, man, and really realizing, like, what are you doing, man?
Right.
You know, there's some people that just ain't gonna get it. So far as that snitching thing, you know, I just recognize that it's a part of the game just as much as anything else. And anybody who don't accept that, you're probably gonna be the one that get caught and can't fight your case either because you don't understand the bigger spectrum.
Right.
Yeah.
You so focused on you and your little petty ass drug dealing or your heavy drug dealing that you think this thing is about you. It's not about you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's mainly what it is. So when I see now, I could see these guys. We can't go have a drink or nothing because you did try to put me away, help put me away from my family. But I'm also not one of them guys. I wouldn't be here if they ain't snitch on me. No, that's a part of the game.
Right.
Like that's a part of the game.
Right.
No, you got to take some accountability, brother.
Very true.
How about you wouldn't be here if you ain't deal with them?
Right.
How about you wouldn't be here if you wasn't selling drugs?
Right.
So that's pretty much what it is with me. Like I could see them now. We don't need to have a drink. We don't need to, but I will. It's all right, brother, because I'm at a different place in my life. What I look like holding on to that? So
It's a waste of energy.
real quick, how I got off of it. Obviously, I did everything. I tried everything. I tried everything to get them guys touched. I tried whatever I could try. But then I was, you know, at the time, yeah, I'm gonna say it. So at the time, my cellmate was Russell Westbrook's uncle, basketball player.
Right.
His uncle, Big Bird, man, L.A., right?
Right.
And he just told me, because that was like, you know, like I am to L, you know, that was my big bro, you know?
Right.
I'm his big, I'm the little big bro, though.
Right.
He's the big bro.
Right.
So He told me, he just said, yo, bro, I'm watching you walk around here all day. I could just see the anger, the treachery in your face, man. He said, let me tell you something. If you don't get that hate out your heart, you ain't gonna never find your way out this situation. He said, I haven't seen you going to the law library. I haven't seen you doing none of this stuff. He said, a heart full of hate creates a mind full of confusion. And he walked away from me. Took me about 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I started focusing on that case again. And slowly but surely, they became not even important until I had to see them in the courtroom. You know, but that was my thing. You know, I've never been in this situation before, the way the feds work. You know, if I didn't go to trial, people could easily say, nah, I ain't tell, he ain't got no paperwork. No, we gonna put you on stage, we gonna turn on the mic, and you gonna bust a rap for us right here. I wanna see it.
Right.
So that's how it played out. But moving forward, bro, like, I don't hold on to none of that. I could care less who's snitching. My paperwork was good. I wasn't checking nobody's pay. No, I'm not walking to the yard with you to see who came in from Jersey so we could check that pay. If that's what you want to do, you do it. And the guys that's running around there on paperwork ain't giving back that time either.
Right.
They too busy focused on the wrong things.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, Lawrence, being your age, how important is discipline?
Super, super duper important. I think in the beginning, well, I would say discipline is super important at my age, especially with all the distractions now. I mean, you got access to, you know, from a dude's standpoint at a young age, like the access to women, I think, is at an all-time high.
Right.
It's in your face 24/7. So discipline as far as that. Just discipline overall. Like, I feel like in this day and age, no one should really have to tell you what you need to be doing. Like, you should surround yourself with examples of what you want to become.
Right.
So, and I think it's tough, in, you know, hood neighborhoods a lot of times, because people are very envious of people who, you know, have things that maybe they want. If they're only seeing people that do a certain thing, like sell drugs or scam, that have things that they want, that's what they fall into.
Right.
So the discipline of being able to kind of be comfortable in yourself, your own skin, now is more important than ever. You have to be disciplined of being able to stay in your own skin. Because it's so easy for someone to open up something online, or them go to school with people and see someone has this or someone has that, and they immediately, instantly want it.
Right.
Instant
Mindset.
gratification.
How important is mindset?
I'm gonna let Lawrence hit that one.
It's on the equal level of discipline. It's something that you have to be calculated and controlling, because some days your mindset could be thrown off if you're surrounding yourself with the wrong people. If you're, to Santino's point, if you're getting stuck on certain things that may have happened in the past, right? That can kind of hurt your mindset. Also, you want to be someone who's open-minded to different ideas and new things, right, as well. So not thinking that you have it all figured out. I think that's an important mindset trait to have, is being open to learn from others. And then I think listening more than you speak, I think, is important from a mindset perspective. Because there's a lot that you can take in from a wisdom standpoint, of just sitting back and listening.
Personal development.
Huh, that's a big one, and that goes into mindset and discipline, man. You naming a recipe to.
Yeah, you gotta have, it's steps to where you want to get to in life. So your personal development is so key to you elevating as a person. So you should track, in my opinion, you should track on a yearly basis things that you want to accomplish, and you should list it out as to, okay, why you accomplished it, or why maybe you didn't achieve that goal.
Right.
So I think setting goals is super important from a personal development standpoint. I think, you know, you may be having a mentor, you having a coach, right? In whatever specific field that you're trying to get into, that can accelerate your personal development.
Right.
Yep.
Financial development.
That comes from responsibility.
Big time.
And that's something that That's something that's not really taught in the black household a lot, financial responsibility. But it's tough if you think about it, because as black people, we've been, like, a lot of times people talk about how much money black people spend, but also you have to take into account how much black people make. We're the lowest earners too.
Right.
Right? We are the biggest spenders, but we're also the lowest earners. And it's tough in a society where inflation is still going up, so the cost of everything is going up. So really, technically, you have to really spend more money on at least the needs. I think it's about cutting back on the things that, and differentiating needs versus wants. Right? So, but I don't think a lot of times at a young age, we're taught that. Right? And then we also have, from a financial responsibility standpoint, we as black people, we go through a lot of FOMO.
Right. Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. So it's like, man, all right, when I was broke, I didn't have, XYZ. Maybe I didn't have that Benz that Santino was talking about earlier. Maybe I didn't have those designer clothes, or maybe I didn't have this. So you kind of like, a lot of times as black people, when we start to get money, our financial responsibility goes out the window because we just think about the times where we didn't have something.
Right.
And now we just want to go get it because we got it. So it's like a rush feeling.
Yeah, I think that instant gratification thing is something that's tattooed in our culture.
Right.
And because like El was just saying, because we feel like we so behind on certain things. Like it's that culture had been created hundreds of years ago, from, just being in a position where you don't have much and watching others have so much, or seeming to have so much. Right. And you kind of chase that prematurely.
And it's tough too. I mean, because when you think about it, when you look at other cultures, right? Like, not to say that, like, we'll just use white people, for example. Like, not all white people, right? But let's just say the not even the wealthy ones, just a regular middle class. If you can compare a middle class white person to a middle class black person, they live two different lifestyles. Like, a middle class black person could still be a person that's living check to check. Where a middle class white person could be someone that's has a 2-parent household, 2 good paying jobs. White mother's probably a teacher. Dad may be a business owner, or he may be a head of a smaller company that may not be Fortune 500, but is still making a lot of money. And they're living comfortable. They go on vacations pretty much regularly. Bills are never late, never behind. Always upgrading, having new cars, sending their kids to private school. Their son is on the football team. Their daughter is probably on the volleyball team or the cheerleading team, right? Now, when you take a look at that from the black family household, you could be, in that same position where you have a black family that has the education, but if you take a look at their house is nowhere near the square foot as that white person's house. They're not driving the same cars, and they may live in a decent neighborhood, but it's not the white picket fence. So it's the part where us as, from a kid standpoint, now look at that. You now have black kids looking at white kids and how they grow up, right? At 16 years old, really a lot of white families, they buy their kids cars, whether they're really wealthy or not wealthy. Whereas, like,
get some.
You get what I'm saying? So
even if it's an older joint.
Exactly. So
matter of fact, most of the time they start them with an older joint.
Exactly. Not because they don't have the money.
Somebody old car.
But they just,
gave it to
exactly. Because they're teaching them the responsibility.
Right.
So when you talk about the personal development, the responsibility, all of that for other cultures is taught at home.
Yeah. I mean, you see it. The checkbook is out in front of the kids. Budgeting is a major problem for us as people because we want so much so early.
Even think about it. White people, they open up their kids' bank accounts. Black people say, nah, you don't need a bank account.
Yeah.
Like, how many black mothers have stopped their kids from opening bank accounts because they want to control their money?
Right.
I mean, we wear our kids wear our wisdom on them. Right. And what I mean by that, the wisdom that predominantly most of us give our kids is leading to being fashionable. Is leading to, I've heard the brokest parents say when I'm coming up, man, you better not come out with me without looking a certain way. Right. Like, why is the look so more important than the state of being?
Yeah.
Right? We cover up our state of being with the look. That's what we was doing as drug dealers out there.
Right.
We go buy all this stuff and, bro, we come from broken homes.
Right.
I got my man, he got the latest Porsche, latest jewelry, all the pretty women, but he got a crackhead mother who steals his stash.
Right.
He got a brother who got mental problems. He got a dad that ain't been around. He's somewhere around the corner shooting up in his arm too.
Right.
He got drunk aunts. Your grandmother raised you because your mother been getting high all her life.
Right.
But yet when we come on these corners, we talk like we are the SHIT.
Right.
And we do that, we have that bravado to hide the fact that there's really a lot of pain that we've been numb to, and we're no longer sensitive to that pain because we grew up with it.
Right.
But it's not until you face that crisis that you look back at your life and say, yo, it was not normal.
Right.
Right now, it's a normal thing. Somebody bump you, somebody do something to you, somebody start some friction. We got to drill them.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go on a drill. Let's go clap them. Let's go. Like, we look at that as so normal. It's so it's so reactive. It's not proactive. Because proactive would be, is this really worth it?
Right.
Where am I gonna be if I do this?
Right.
Or how about let's find a different resolve?
Right.
But we don't know that because we all suffer from mental health issues
Right.
in these neighborhoods. Like, we don't think so. But
Right.
if you're that person with all that stuff I just named,
Right.
the crackhead mother, the dope fiend father, raised by the grandmother who never had no money, loved the hell out of you though.
Right.
The mentally challenged brother. You know what I mean? Friends I had to have bipolar brothers and stuff in the street that would show up on a block messing with you and shit. Like,
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
you know what I mean? Like, this is what goes on in the neighborhood.
Right.
Like, we don't know that we have trauma.
Right.
We walk around with it and don't know we have it.
Right. And a lot of that is generational trauma, childhood trauma.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's all compiled.
It's all
man.
compiled. So that's why I always like to say, like, you know, once you start to get yourself working on the personal development, and then once you at peace with yourself, then everything kind of rolls into your favor with the financial development and all of those things. But at the end of the day, you want to be at peace with yourself. You know what I'm saying? You want to be okay sitting there by yourself, not thinking, well, I can't be by myself because I don't know what's going to go through my mind. You know, those are the scary. Once you find that peace and solitude, life gonna go your way.
Yep.
But until then, you always gonna be running.
Yeah, and people just sitting here looking at me and Lawrence, right? Lawrence is the figment of what I would have been had I been conscious.
Right.
I got Lawrence's lesson late. He got mine early.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So that right there in itself, like for anybody who watching this podcast right now, you looking at a person that put himself through a lot of unnecessary stuff to get a lesson late in life, which is never too late. I said late, not too late, right?
Yeah.
And you're looking at another individual that's seen all that stuff happening, had the background, had the upbringing to actually partake in all that stuff.
Right.
Didn't have the examples around him either, but saw from a conscious standpoint, where do I want to fit in this matrix?
Right.
Yeah.
And he chose his lane, and it didn't lead to me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But eventually, you know, the universe brought us back around full circle,
Right.
you know? Whoever known that when I first learned stocks that I was going to meet young, because at the time he was only 19, 20 when I met him.
Right.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, he was 20.
Right.
Who know that I was going to meet a young 20-year-old that's already well engulfed in this industry that I fell in love with so much.
Right.
It was just amazing, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
For the both of you, why educate others?
Yeah, I think for me, you know, just seeing, you know, a lot of older people continue to work at 60, 70 years old and not have really a retirement plan. I think for me, I get a passion of being able to help people, I wouldn't say quit their jobs, but really have an alternative to just going to work, right, to make money. I think I get an enjoyment out of that. It's a good feeling because really I just feel like obviously our time is limited here on this earth, and I just would rather people spend more time with the people that they care about, love, etc., whatever. So
Right.
I think I get a passion out of that. And just to, you know, I think it's good for people to be involved in this space because you see other cultures dominating in this space. So I don't see us dominating as a whole.
Right.
Black people own like 1% to 2% of stocks here in America, right? So you think about that. we're misrepresented in this field.
Right.
And not just this, even real estate.
Right.
You know, all across the board. So if we can get our levels of involvement and ownership up in things like the stock market, things like real estate, you know, that puts us in bridging the wealth gap per se.
Right. What motivates you?
Purpose.
Pushing P.
I'm still pushing off. I'm still running off the same energy I had when I first realized that I was on to something that was going to help me beat the federal government. I'm still working off that same energy, bro.
Right.
And it seems like it ain't going to run out. It's never going to die down.
Nope.
It's not going to decelerate or however you
Right.
say it. It's not. It's constantly on torque.
Right.
You know, and I'm still working off that. And the reason why is because you don't get out of situations like that by yourself.
Right.
I wasn't driving that wheel.
Right.
Optimism, spirituality, the universe, my creator was driving that. I let the wheel go a long time ago. It's not always something easy to do in life.
Right.
A lot of people running around now keep bumping their head because they figure they have to solve this problem themselves. Yeah, you do.
Right.
But with the guidance of your spirituality, if you got some, I don't know whatever your denomination is.
Right.
But a friend of mine told me, you know, a long time ago, I came to him for some help, and he said, nah, because I knew you wasn't being guided by the universe or by your spiritual, you know,
Right.
hierarchy at that time. You were being guided by what you thought was the right thing to do, and that kept running you into brick walls.
Mm-hmm.
You keep trying to come up with these harebrained schemes,
right.
and they're not working.
Right.
You know, sometimes you got to sit back, just take something in its totality, and then get your answers from there.
Right.
But in terms of that motivation, yeah, motivating to see my culture, you know, where I know they can be, if
Right.
we implement the right teachings, the right sciences, and the right principles, like we can be there. We don't have to be in this position. I want everybody to know I was sitting in a position where only 2% of cases get heard, just heard. They'll listen to you. And a much smaller percentage actually get overturned, which means you won or something happened in your favor.
Right.
I beat them hands down, bro. That window was like this.
Right.
So you got to understand, like, amongst being in a place that's so drenched with pessimism, bro. You got guys in there, you know, I told you, from the Bronx, the Torres brothers. My brother, shout out to the Torres brothers. They've been in jail since 1986, and they had every bit of money, like more money than anybody I knew.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But they could not buy their way out of jail.
Right.
They've been in there since 1986, and finally their sentence got commuted.
Right.
You know, so you in there fighting this unfightable battle the whole time. I'm watching people with more money than me, Lawrence. I'm watching people smarter than me that cannot get out of this situation. Why me? Why was I able to do that? Because of the way I thought. I didn't see it no other way. I never accepted the time. I never cried about it. I never owned it. And, you know, I just feel like when you think that way, when you find a way to stay positive, positive things have no choice but to happen, because what happens is you just convince yourself
Right.
that you're going home. So now your body starts to point you in the direction that you need to be in to actually make it happen, bro.
1000%.
So what motivates me is being able to sit on this couch with the young king and globe trotting like we do and giving this information to people, man. You know, although we both have paid services, man, we can't even account for the amount of people that we helped. And when we're not saying that, we helped them. They did it themselves. We just helped put them on a path. You know, my mentor used to always say, I used to thank him. He used to be like, I didn't do nothing for you. You did it. I just helped you find it inside of you. And that's what we're doing with them. All of us have the same fire in us. We just got to find it and throw some damn fluid on the thing
Right.
and get it to flame up, right?
Nah, for
That's
sure.
it.
Yep.
Sure.
You know, so that's what motivates me, man.
Lawrence, what motivates you?
I feel like, man, just knowing that every day is just a new opportunity,
Right.
and then tomorrow really isn't promised for sure. I think seeing that in full force is just like you want to just try to accomplish as much as you can get done.
Right.
I think as well, I think one thing that motivates me is just to show people like there's other ways of achieving success outside, especially for Black people, right? Because anytime most Black, I won't say all, but most Black people talk about someone they look up to, it's some sort of musical artist, or it's some sort of person that plays some sort of sport. You know, you never really hear people say, hey, well, I look up to this particular entrepreneur or this particular business owner or this specific public speaker, right? You know, just so like you don't really hear a lot of that.
Right.
So I think creating a lane where, you know, people are able to comfortable go back to being developers. I think that's what motivates me, right? Because you take a look at our past history, you know, us as Black people, we invented everything from the toilet to the light bulb to everything, right? And I think developing that passion, I think, is what motivates me, is wanting to have, you know, not just my name in the history books, but, you know, others around me. So,
Right.
yeah.
Message to your younger self.
Man, go find Lawrence, man.
Someday.
Go find Lawrence and just ask Lawrence how he even get on that wave. Like, what made him get on that wave?
Right.
And I'm serious. Now that I met him, I would have my younger self go see him. But what I would say to my younger self is, start trying to be some of the potential people been seeing in you all your life. Just a little bit. Because all my life, no matter how many schools I got kicked out of, the teacher that was kicking me out would always say, man, you got so much potential. I would hear that throughout my whole life, right? And that's the opposite. So for somebody who made the choices such as like Lawrence made, he never had to hear that. You got so much potential, because he was already exercising his potential.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like telling somebody, put your shoes on, you already got them on,
Right.
you know? So for me, I would tell myself, take a hard look at when people tell you you have potential at a particular thing,
Right.
and maybe you should try to tap into that.
Right.
Because I heard it all my life. And it's funny because my daughter just said it. She said, people always telling me I got potential. I said, yeah, well, you should listen to them.
Right.
You know, because what happens is when people telling you got potential and you just say, thanks. You know what that is? That's you not recognizing what they see in you. You don't see it in yourself.
Right.
But until you see it in yourself, guess what? It's just potential. Potential is just an illusion of what could be,
Right.
or a figment of what could be.
Right.
But you have to step into those shoes. So I would tell myself, young brother, go step into them shoes, man.
Right.
You know?
Message to your younger self.
I would tell myself to probably stay away from certain people. That would probably be my biggest thing. I think I could have, obviously I think I got to where I was at pretty fast, but I think I could have obviously gotten there faster had I not been around certain people. So that would probably be my number one thing.
Right. Message to the youth.
Message to the youth, man. Be less like me and more like him.
Right.
You can be like me now. I don't mind. I don't mind if somebody want to mimic my blueprint, right? Because to be honest with you, right, if we speak about, you know, people who succeed and people who quote unquote BS, right? From a general perspective, whatever you may consider success, I have a slogan. I say people who are successful and people who bullshit are all working off the same blueprint. So everybody who bullshit, right?
Right.
They have the same mentality, same characteristics, same principles, same traits,
Right.
same ideals.
Right.
People who are successful, and I don't mean selective success, I mean people who are successful at whatever they do.
Right.
Me and Lawrence is at the point now, if we put our hands on it, we plan on being successful with it,
Right.
because we don't see it no other way.
Right.
So those types of people are all working off the same blueprint too. One of accountability, responsibility, proactivity,
Right.
open-mindedness, like he said, major thing, being able to listen more than you talk.
Right.
I would just tell the youth that, especially youth that come from where we come from, right? I would just tell them that yes, you can.
Right.
You can.
Yes, you can.
No matter what they're telling you, no matter what the school says, no matter what your mother say, because sometimes we don't hear the right things at home. No matter what your father say, no matter what your sister say, yes, you can. They do not dictate your process in life. You do. You do. You know?
Yeah.
And don't make no excuses, man, and just be accountable. If you did it, be accountable. Be accountable.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I would say my message to the youth would be comfortable in your own skin. I realized like over the past few months, and not even just the past few months, like over the past year, I realized there's a lot of our youth that are committing suicide, and I didn't realize it. It's crazy because a few dudes I went to high school with, a few dudes I went to college with, and even a few dudes that went to kind of like neighboring colleges that I have friends at, and kind of seen them passing by. It was amazing. Well, not amazing. It was pondering to me that to find out that a lot of these guys were, killing themselves, particularly men, young black men, committing suicide. I could think about 5 names just off the top of my head, just thinking one thought. So I'm even more interested to say, well, if I know that many, how many more else are out there? Because I know I don't know all of them. So I think being comfortable in your own skin, and you'll find it that it's a lot of the people that you would honestly least expect to have, done this. So being comfortable in your own skin. Don't try to fall into that trying to keep up with this person, keep up with that person, because, it's dangerous.
Right. Message to the young traders.
To the young traders, message to the young traders, man. If you're young and you're trading, keep going, man. Keep going. Study as much as you can. Get with your mentors. And one thing I learned, a lot of people say, again, we talk about mindset, right? And we talk about, a lot of people say this, well, saying you ain't hustling no more because you developed that skill. But they don't realize that I'm not hustling because I developed a skill. I'm not hustling or running the streets anymore because I developed a certain way of thinking, right? Because if I take this skill set and go give it to one of my homies who's still out there rock and rolling, they just going to use it for negativity.
Right.
Not to mention, they'll probably be able to wrap me up in a conspiracy saying I help funnel their money or help them further their enterprise, right? That's something people don't know too. But but it's not that I learned this skill, because this skill came to me after I had already been on a quest to develop a certain particular set of thinking.
Right.
So it wouldn't have never came to me no other way.
Right.
So, my thing is for the young traders, keep studying as much as you can, hone in on your craft, be serious about it, and discipline will always supersede your skill set. Discipline will supersede your skill set. In order for you to survive and thrive in these markets and be able to trade them and live off of them the way me and Lawrence do and Jamil do, you have to hone in on your craft. And once you hone in on your craft, you have to measure yourself against what the task is in the market, which is to be disciplined.
Right.
To be able to close your laptop and say, I made enough for the day. That's something that we can't teach you.
Right.
We can hip you to what you need to do with it,
Right.
but you can't teach discipline. Discipline has to be assumed,
Right.
So that's my thing.
Yeah, I would say message to the young traders for me would just be, don't try to like rush into trading. I think a lot of times people find out about the stock market and they have a brokerage account opened within 2 weeks and are ready to quit their jobs and fund their brokerage account and start trading. I think really learning the steps and the processes of actually how to operate your systems, learning the intangibles of the stock market, the ups and the downs. I think that would be my biggest message to people, is just kind of be a little bit more patient. I think when people find out, oh man, I could do this, I can make this, like it's like a rush. I would really, my message to them would just be stay patient.
Right. So where could we find you guys, and what would you guys like to shout out?
Hey, listen, first of all, I like to shout out to my brothers, The Collective.
Yep.
We got two other partners. We got my brother Coach Jamil, who's a technical analysis master, futures trader, former JP Morgan associate. You know, just imagine this. He quit JP Morgan to start trading for himself.
Right.
So he left a salary to go create his own salary and snatch his money out the market. Jamil always say, I'll get my reparations out the market.
Right.
And you know, obviously Lawrence and me, we all got different skill sets. Me, I do options. I pretty much teach people how to put up less to make more in the market. You know, you got my boy Ivan Lee Jackson. He deals with web development, e-commerce, you know, entrepreneurship and stuff like that. So the collective, we pretty much, you know, all met on Clubhouse, came together. Me and Lawrence met. We all met separately and came together during the Clubhouse era.
Right.
So definitely want to shout them out. You can definitely find us collectively at Successes Collective on Instagram. And you can find me at Wise Money Academy on Instagram. And I'll let El go ahead.
So you can find the collective at Successes Collective on IG, and then find my personal page at MrLawrence.e.
Right. Yo, so definitely thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your effort. Make sure everybody out there, you smash that like button.
Yes, sir.
Subscribe, tap in, like, comment,
Yes,
share.
sir.
Especially this one, man. Summer's coming. So I definitely want to put out some useful information for the youth, you know, to have a fun and safe summer.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And not have the joy of missing out. You know what I'm saying? So for the youth out there, tell your parents where you are, check in with them. Don't do funny things like, oh, my phone died, because you end up in you end up in situations that you can't reverse everything. You know what I'm saying? So get home early. You know, not every function is for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And be selective.
That's
You know what I'm saying? Something don't feel right, just go home.
That's
You know what
right.
I'm saying? And it's all right to be home. You know what I mean? So
And love yourself.
and love yourself.
Love yourself. Because if you love yourself, you'll do everything Zoe just said.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely, man. So peace and love. Take care. Peace out. Peace and love, world. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, support the channel, show your love. You know what I'm saying? We have a great conversation week in and week out. You never know who's coming. You never know what we're going to do. But at the end of the day, it's all about peace and love. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment.